asked a very sensitive question, incontroversial question. Surprise, surprise. They are reducing my role so I can get more time to spend with my child. That I have been given the yellow slip. Try to be with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's the toughest thing to be. I don't get that. I'm sorry, guys. I don't understand this logic.
Media industry is forgetting its responsibilities.
It's become dirty.
And a celebrity you'd love to have coffee with?
Shah Rukh Khan. I'm like die-hard fan of him.
You
And
know,
I danced with him, and that was
Did
like
you?
I did a lungi dance with him. In fact, Raj said, I think I'm going to call you Ma Megha.
Welcome to InControversial. I'm your host Pooja. And joining me today is an absolute powerhouse of the media industry, someone who has not only shaped the landscape of Indian television, but continues to redefine media and entertainment as we consume it today. A leader, a visionary, and an absolute inspiration. Megha Tata, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy to have finally met you.
I know.
We've been coordinating for the longest, and finally it happened today.
Finally it did, and thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really excited about this controversial conversation.
It sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but I tell you there's no controversy around it.
Okay.
Just good, uplifting, inspiring conversations.
Fabulous.
You know, we were talking and you were telling me about your early days of sort of how you got into the media and entertainment space and a subscription model selling a video sort of magazine.
Yeah.
And 30 years hence, how the whole media and entertainment industry and landscape has changed.
Oh my God. Where do I even begin?
Please, I mean, I'd love to hear it from your lens and your perspective.
I know. I mean, you know, I've literally seen this industry move from, it's like, you know, when you say tectonic shifts, this is double time over.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because we're talking at time when I got into this industry when there was only Doordarshan. There was one television channel. There was only the radio, the local broadcaster, I mean the public
All India
broadcaster,
Radio.
All India Radio.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's it. There were no, of course, there was theaters and movies.
Yes.
But there was no other entertainment offerings, you know. So this is going back to 1990s. Okay.
I mean, 80s and 90, yeah.
Yeah, I mean 1990 I would say, because the time when I entered this industry, that was the landscape. Of course, Doordarshan's been around much longer and all of that. So from there on to see, you know, this shift which has taken place, which is not about just television networks coming around, more radio channels coming around, then the digital explosion which took place, and then of course the bane or the boon, I don't know, the social media, which has sort of consumed everybody today, is been a one hell of a journey for me, you know, and I feel actually quite privileged and humbled that I have experienced this entire, you know, 3 to 4 decades of insanity.
That's quite an apt word,
And I've loved every bit of it, you know, and I've consumed it, I've been part of it, I have accepted it, because there's some things, you know, as they say, when you can't fight it, you embrace it.
Absolutely.
And there was no other way to exist in this world if you don't embrace these changes which were taking place. So I've sort of seen it all.
I mean, and you really sort of mean it, and you've lived it.
Yeah.
But you know, you've worked across some giants, Star TV, HBO, Discovery, and you continue to guide organizations today, even as a strategic advisor. You're doing some immense work in the women leadership space. And if you were to sort of describe that journey, you describe the industry as insanity, but if you were to describe that journey in one word, what would it be?
Gratifying.
Okay.
And the reason I say gratifying, and maybe if I can add one more word, is privileged. Because there are obviously a lot of fabulous talent out there in the world, right? But to be at the right place, right time also works in many times in your favor. And I think for me, that was a big, I give credit to my karma or whatever you want to call it, to be at the right place at the right time, right? And that opportunities which I got is something I completely grabbed, you know, and that is something, you know, for like a window of an opportunity opened, I made it into a door. And that is where my personal resilience, my personal passion in this space really played off as well.
Yeah.
But I think to have seen this change and to experience this movement which happened, or this journey, as you said, it has been absolutely gratifying. You know, it's just wonderful from an absolute. I mean, you know, to like somebody asked me, where have you graduated from? And I always say Star TV. Because for me, the 12 years I was there is the 12 years of my education experience.
Yeah.
That is an institution for me, and like me, there are many. We are a motley crew of people who brought the cable and satellite into the country.
Yeah. You were telling me, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So amongst the sort of initial team members who sort of started the whole satellite
nobody
revolution.
knew anything. You know, nobody knew when Star happened in India, when it came in. At that time, no one had any idea of such content was possible. Sitting at your home, you could be watching the best of international content, and then later on, of course, the best of Indian content. And that experience was absolutely, gratifying, of course, but just bringing that ability to having the ability to bring that to people's home was absolutely fantastic. And I feel absolutely privileged to be part of that journey.
Lovely. But, you know, I mean, having held leadership positions in top media organizations, have there been those challenging moments, where you felt that you're just not being accepted as a woman, or at the same time, a sort of a rewarding phase of your career?
Yeah. No, you've asked a very sensitive question, incontroversial question.
Oh my, okay.
So I'm gonna try to be as diplomatic here.
No, don't. Just say it for what it is.
Okay. So the thing is that, see, when I started in this industry, there were very few women, of course, you know. And I think fundamentally there were very few women in the corporate world back then. And I'm talking about 35 years ago. Of course, things have changed dramatically. Fantastic to see so many women doing so well.
Yeah.
But sadly, what has still not changed is that not enough women at the CXO roles, even today in a lot of organizations. And maybe certain industries, but media and entertainment, marketing, advertising, that's a space which has very, very few women at the leadership roles. And I think that is something which I feel very, like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, why is it that we're not able to find, there's such amazing talented women in this space, that why are there not many more CXOs, women CXOs in this industry? Beats me. But I think personally, my experience when I started, of course, it was very early days. There were good and bad experiences, like most women executives would have had and maybe continue to have. I think what a few things which happened in my career, which I always sort of self-reflect and say that how would I have treated in a situation like this today, would have been very different than what I did.
Yeah, okay.
So for example, there was a time I had just had my first child, and I was sort of, trying to, enjoy this beautiful experience of being a mom for the first time. And of course, in those days, there was only 3 months of maternity leave, and I did those 3 months and I came back. But that whole guilt factor that you're not being able to do the best, and anyway you're doing the best and you can, right? Now in that scenario, I was sort of head of sales in managing the national level sales, and I was called in by my bosses to tell me that they have decided on their own that for my benefit, surprise, surprise, they are reducing my role to make it into one of the region head versus the national head, so I can get more time to spend with my child, because they felt that I cannot travel, that I won't be able to spend enough work time, or given that much 100%, because and it was
so this was just unilaterally thought by them on your behalf,
like for you. Yeah, and I still remember that scene very vividly in my head. And I was called in, and I remember I broke down, okay, and my hormones were running all over the place.
Yeah.
I just had like 4-5 months old a baby,
yeah.
and I was bawling. Like I started crying. Those guys couldn't figure why I was crying, because their logic was that we've not reduced your salary, we're not reducing your designation, which is making it easier for you. You like, how is that not a good thing? And I continued to, just I couldn't understand why. Why was I being inflicted this decision without having to have consulted me at least?
Correct,
right?
Or at least warrant a conversation.
But this is something we decided this you're going to do. And at that time, I remember I was crying, and I am apologizing that I'm sorry, I'm crying, I'm sorry. And that is something, when I self-reflect, I'm like, damn, God, I should have been far more, I should have said far more things at that stage. I should have questioned more, I should have pushed back more, and I didn't. I just accepted it.
Do you think the situation may have been different if you had a woman boss in that spot, perhaps? She would have been able to sort of been a bit more empathetic, or held a conversation instead of just unilaterally?
Maybe. I don't know, Pooja. I don't know. I think it's not fair to assume that, because there were very few women bosses at that time anyways. I did have a few women bosses in my journey, and some were fantastic and some were not. So I don't think so this is so much about male female bosses.
Okay.
It's about women, this whole assumption that you cannot do it because you're a woman is where just gets my
goat.
It
just sort of the balance.
It's like, and at that stage there was not so much awareness, there was not so much of obviously there was no social media where people could speak out and everything, and so that is something I feel this generation has the capability to do. Of course, some people are taking that to another extreme, which we can have another chat on, but I think that balance is important. So today, if a situation like this, if I was like 20 years younger in a similar situation, I would not have taken that so straightforward, but I did. And what I had to do is that I had to work harder to prove to my male peers and bosses that I can do this, that even if I didn't want to work late, I would be staying back late. Even if I didn't have to travel, I would travel.
And all of this in the backdrop of the guilt that you're already carrying in your heart,
through, right? And that whole guilt that, oh my God, and of course we're all working women can relate to this. We're all, moms on the phone, always checking on things, khaya nahi, piya nahi, all of that. So exactly, and managing your rest of the home chores. And of course, I'm hugely grateful for the family support I had. I couldn't have done what I did without all my family support. But the fact is, you're still the mom, right? You still need to do what you need to do, and not because you have to do, because you want to do. But that is where I feel that I had a tough set of experiences, but it never bothered me eventually. It got me, I cried and all that, and I'm like, whatever.
But I mean, you talked about being sort of national sales head, and you did go on to occupy much higher leadership roles.
Exactly.
But leadership also comes with tough calls, right? Can you share a moment that perhaps you had to take a tough decision, but eventually it went in your favor, or in the favor of the company that you were representing or working with?
Oh, they were very, very tough decisions one has to take, has taken. I mean, they're not the best memories for me, to be honest, where we have had situations of either departments to be shut down, or a bad business move which backfired and you had to let go of people. And not only have I been in a situation where I had to let go those people, had those tough conversations, but I personally have been a victim of that situation as well. So, I don't talk about this much, but in my 3 odd decades of my journey, there have been, I would say, at least 3 times that I have been given the yellow slip.
And how did you sort of navigate that turmoil?
That is where your personal resilience, your self-confidence, your self-belief comes in. And I think that is something which is in today's time even more critical to have, because there's so much happening. And in this world of mergers and acquisitions and all of that, there are so many people losing jobs and whatnot. How do you navigate these situations is something which each one of us have to be able to deal with. And I dealt with, I would say, I think with a lot of elan. You know, I believe that it wasn't easy when it happened. Nothing is, I mean, these things are not,
absolutely,
you just don't go and have a party of that. But at the same time, it did not, let's say, it did not drown me, right? I was like, okay, shit happens, okay. Move on.
You move on, sort of bounce back.
But each of those experiences, I learned a lot. And each of the experience, I must also say that whoever my senior people, peers were, they all, said these things to me that, you dealt with it very professionally, very maturely. So I think that is a very important attribute to have in a professional, that sometimes some decisions are taken for business reasons, so you've just got to accept it and move on. But there is no life life is not a walk in the park, and that is something I've learned the hard way. So
and more so in today's business environment where everything is so dynamic, and you talked about mergers and acquisitions. I mean, what the media and entertainment industry was 30-35 years ago, and today to what it is. I mean, there is a constant spate of mergers, acquisitions, a churn in management, and people therefore, and
huge. And that is where I think people and everyone, especially this generation, is struggling to sort of, how do you accept these changes which are taking place, this uncertainty which exists every day when they go out to the office. This whole uncertainty of what's going to happen to me today, it's not nice feeling.
It's definitely not a nice feeling to be living with.
So how do you sort of deal with that comes with a lot of other things. I mean, I would say for me, what really helped me was my spiritual path. And I think that really got me a lot more balance and calmness and a sense of understanding that nothing is constant, right? If shit happens, great things will happen again. And that cycle of life which continues to happen will continue to happen. So whatever stays down goes up, and whatever goes up comes down is
some
is
very
how it
simple fundas, but if you sort of put your mind to it and accept them, they can be great sort of guiding principles.
The thing is about, we can all give all this lovely gyan and tell people, okay, this is how you should be. But the trick is in actually doing it.
And has your acceptance and embracing of spirituality helped you in that? You're a volunteer at the Isha Foundation.
That's
you mentioned,
right? So I follow that path. I've been on this for the last 10-12 years now, 13 actually, and it's been a game changer for both me and my husband, and we've just become far more we feel at least far more balanced human beings, and I think that's beautiful, and all of these situations which I dealt with, I would attribute a lot to this path as well. It just gives you some kind of sense of balance
and sort of calm.
Correct. So it helped me for sure, and I think it's very, very important. I feel very strongly about it, that today's generation needs to have some form of an alternative existence. I mean, you are so thrown with so
bombarded
much
with content and information,
right? And the pressure of what you should be, how you should be, what you should look like, wear and be, and it's just it's a mind F, right? So in so many ways, these kids are just like, oh my God.
I think in the midst of all of this, it wouldn't be surprising if you just forget who you are, what you should be, right? Like,
it's just, and in that noise, how do you find your voice? And that to me is going to only come from if you have some form of a alternative path. Now you call it meditation or some yoga or some spiritual, sense of being, is your call.
I think somewhere where you can just shut the noise out and just look at something else. What's the view on the other side, so to speak.
And just try to be with yourself. it's the toughest thing to be.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, it's
just sitting by yourself.
I mean, I'm a runner and I enjoy my morning run.
Right.
Just one with my thoughts out there in, in nature, listening to the sounds of the birds and and it's so just beautiful. The breeze on your face and some of my happiest thoughts and also some of my cleverest solutions, if I may say so, to whatever the problems are, whether it's at work or oddballs with life and the curveballs that it throws at you. I think some of my cleverest solutions have come when I'm running. So I think
so whether it's an exercise regimen or is it a, but people always when I talk to young kids I don't have the time. I don't get that. I'm sorry guys, I don't understand this logic of I don't have the time. What do you mean I don't have the time? You have 24 hours. You can't remove 30 minutes in those 24 hours for your own self? I'm sorry, I don't get that.
Just doesn't make sense.
So if you find that little sort of rope of being able to find yourself in a way and understand who you are and what you really want is, I think, will give you so much more clarity and maybe help you with all the BS you're seeing around.
And I mean, you also sort of continue to mentor and train a lot of young professionals. Any advice that you give to aspiring media professionals today that, from your own learnings and journey?
I mean, quite a few, depending on, what life cycle of their career they are in. But I think fundamentally is that, I think the 2-3 things I say personally. One is when you're in this space, like you have to have self-belief, right? I think a lot of people get into self-doubt and start questioning when things don't go right, when I don't get a promotion, when I've been asked to leave a job, or when I have been asked that this is not the role you will do now, you will do that role. Suddenly I feel it's because I am not good at it, right? I think that concept needs to be removed from your dictionary. You need to believe in yourself.
And that it's not necessarily about you.
It's not about you. Sometimes certain decisions are taken for business reasons. Sometimes don't take everything personally and don't let that affect you. So I think that in today's time especially, I would highly advise that, self-belief and self-confidence is very important. Second thing I tell, and this is more for women, is that you are based on the choices you made. I don't subscribe for, and people say it's easier said than done, but then I always say, whoever said, life is a walk in the park, of course it's not easy. But if you've made a choice, then you live happily with it. Don't sit and blame. I couldn't work because of my husband, my child, my mother-in-law, my boss, the travel, my commute, my whatever. If you want really, then you have to find a way to do it, right? But then if you've decided to not follow that path and step out of your, the work world or whatever, and I fully respect all the women who have done that.
Who sort of sidestep, or who don't get onto that corporate highway.
I have huge regards and respect for all of them. But then live happily with that choice. Don't get bitter about it. Don't sit and whine about it. Don't regret it, because that will help nothing. Only your own self and your self-esteem and your health. So what do you achieve out of that? Nothing. So whatever the choices you're making, you are
take full responsibility and ownership for it and sort of live it.
Absolutely. So that is something I advise again. That's number 2. And number 3, I would say, have this balance of life, work-life balance as they call it, which I don't like actually, because sometimes your work is your life, and so you enjoy both. But I think having that balance of where to stop, or where to put that pause button. Don't just get consumed and and before life is, as Elton John says, life will pass you by while you're making your plans. So don't be in that situation. Create that opportunity that, okay, of course I love to work, but I also want to do this. I want to travel. For example, when I reached a certain stage, I decided that on weekends I will not work. You know, however important a presentation needs to be delivered on Monday, then I will work Friday and late night, but I will not work on weekends because that's my family time. Right? I will, unless it's an absolute emergency, I will not pick up calls and schedule meetings on weekends. Right? It's just, then you make that choice. And by doing that, did it stop my growth in career? Absolutely not. I did what I did on my terms and my time. But you have to make that you have to take that ownership and take that call. So if you have these 2-3 I guess nuggets of advice or whatever you want to call it, you know, then I think you will be in a better position to survive in this insane world.
Spoken like a true leader and veteran, but I'm reminded of a beautiful quote, and it really resonated with me, and it's funny that I'm saying this to you. It's Sadhguru quote.
Oh, really?
And he says, there is no work-life balance, it's all life.
That is true.
Yeah, and
so true.
It really resonated with me, and you know, for those of us who are passionate about the work that we do, or in the cases where our passion is our work, I think it gels and fits in so beautifully.
True.
Very true. So it stayed in my mind, and I'm not one to usually remember quotes and be able to quote them when it's appropriate. But this one has stayed. Funny that it should come up in our conversation. But we talked about responsibility, and you know, you come with a 35-year journey in the media and entertainment space. Do you think somewhere in this whole clutter of OTT, AI, social media, and today artificial intelligence, and you know, fake news and misinformation, somewhere the media industry is forgetting its responsibilities?
I mean, especially the news space. And I think it's just absolutely, I have to be politically correct here.
No, you don't.
No, but I think it's very, very responsible for some of the media platforms, or you know, publication platforms or news platforms, which are doing things just to get views.
Yeah, or that they are, you know, their views are already aligned. So you have to sing the same song.
Also, yes, also. And I think it's just that I mean, I can't relate to it. I mean, there are maybe others who do, but I don't relate to it. And to me, that is just downright cheap and downright uncool. And it's not pure news, the purity has been lost.
Yeah, I mean, essentially there is no news. In the name of news, you have a panel discussion, and that's it. Those two topics is what make news for
and everything time. And that's, I mean, when I'm not just talking about TV, I'm talking about generally social media as well. Anyone and everyone can just pick up and say anything and get away with it, and there is no sense of responsibility, and there is no sense of accountability, and that to me is seeming like, you know, it's like free for all. Anyone can pick up and say anything.
I think the term freedom of expression on the other side of it has been completely abused. You cannot get personal and come down to slander, if I may say so.
Exactly.
In the name of freedom of expression.
So I think that is something I don't relate
throw in
to it.
a dash of vulgarity, and you've taken it to another level.
Total, like really like below the scum of the earth also, I would say. So I mean, like, that is really not, I can't relate to it at all. So. But I mean, you know, I mean, this is still happening, and I don't know whether there is a way to control this. I have no idea, but it's unfortunate.
And at the same time, one has, you know, the lines between news and propaganda blurring.
Totally.
There being nothing called independent news, if one may say so.
You know better. You're from this in the PR industry as well. But I think at a consumer level, I would say also that it's just it's become so it's become dirty.
And I think it's only appropriate that we get into a bit of a rapid fire round. The most underrated media professional you admire?
Maybe I would say my first boss, Yash Khanna.
Okay, this was at Star.
It was at Sunday Mail.
Oh, first. Sunday Mail, okay.
And then at Star as well. But he was my first boss. Very, very fond memories of him. I mean, a lot I owe to him. So I think he's this old granddaddy now. But I think he could have been appreciated more for what he brought to the table.
Okay. Yeah. A book that changed your perspective?
Inner Engineering by Sadhguru.
And a celebrity you'd love to have coffee with?
Shah Rukh Khan. I'm like die-hard fan of him.
I
danced with him, and I
did you?
I did a lungi dance with him in one of the IA's World Congresses, which happened in Kochi, and that was a highlight in my life for sure.
My God.
Yeah.
If you had to survive one social media platform for a year, which one would it be?
As in to let go.
To let go, or that's the only one you could be with?
Only to be with Instagram.
Okay. Doom scrolling.
Fully dead.
And if you had to let go?
Twitter.
Okay.
Toxic.
Yeah, I agree. And if TRPs were a person, who would it be?
TRP would be Uday Shankar.
Okay then. And having sort of ruled the corporate boardroom for so many years, if you could delete one phrase from every corporate meeting, what would that be?
Let's control the narrative. So everyone wants to control the narrative. Yeah.
According to you, who is? Okay, so you have to name a person. Daily soap channel.
Arnab.
News channel, always sort of updated with gossip.
Don't kill me, Raj Naik. Raj, sorry.
Spiritual channel, like the complete picture of calm and peace and zen, full of gyan.
Me.
Okay then.
In fact, Raj said, I think I'm going to call you Ma Megha.
And movie channel, entertaining and sort of larger than life.
Gayatri Yadav.
Okay. Meme page, always funny.
Partha Sinha.
Oh, OTT platform.
Anurag Batra.
Oh, all right, okay.
Anurag, sorry. This I'm being put in a corner here.
You didn't have a choice but to give an answer, right?
Yeah.
And lastly, since of course this is incontroversial, a controversial belief that you have that not necessarily people agree with.
That women can be great CEOs in media and entertainment industries.
We are.
There aren't. Think about it. Which media company is led by a woman?
And you believe they can,
Of
but
course.
people don't agree with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if they don't agree on it, because if they did, we would
you
have
would see
had.
them. Yeah, okay.
There aren't.
Spoken like a true boss lady there. Megha, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think your journey is nothing short of inspiration. And to all of us, our young viewers, and to those aspiring for careers in the media and entertainment space, in the corporate world in general, I think some great words of wisdom and advice from Ma Megha, if I may say so, but no, really, from one woman leader to another, I think. Thank you for sharing your journey, and it's been really wonderful having you on InControversial.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful having a chat with you, and so wonderful to meet a fabulous leader like yourself as well.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been an absolutely fun and
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely, heartwarming conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
so much.
everyone.
Signing off from InControversial now. Stay tuned, and please do like, share, and subscribe.